Hello my friends, here is an easy introduction on how to export your images in the right format for the right purpose in high quality. Let's get started. My name is Olivio, I'm a professional designer from Vienna, Austria. And by the way, if you like my videos and want to support my channel, head over to Patreon where I have great options for you. So the first thing to talk about are the different file formats, and I will start here with PNG, which is for pixel only, but it has the benefit that it supports transparency, and this is great. For example, if you have a logo and you want to use it on your website or as an overlay in a video, there, if you have transparency, you can see through to the background that is surrounding your logo. So that's useful for this kind of purpose. JPEG is a file format that only supports pixel format and it does not support transparency, but it is great for printing. It's also great for online use because this will compress your picture to a very small file size. GIF or GIF is a file format that is used for pictures with fewer colors. There's also animated GIFs, but Affinity Photo does not support creating animated GIFs, so this is not an option here. Then we have the TIFF format, and the TIFF format is only for pixels and it does not compress your pictures at all, so you have the original data. And this is used when you want to work more in with your picture in the future and other use cases like that that use or need an uncompressed file. Then we have the PSD file. This is the Photoshop file, and this is mainly used if you want to export your file with all the layers preserved, and so you can open it in Photoshop or another program that supports the Photoshop format. This will create really big sizes of the files because of all the layers, so expect files that can be easily over 100 megabytes. So the next one is PDF. This is great for printing. It's also great for online digital documents if you make an ebook or stuff like that. So you have a mix of text and pictures or graphics all compressed into one file and it has multiple pages. PDF is great for that. Also, as I said, for printing, you can have anything from your business card to a print that is as big as a house. And PDF can support that because, like I said, it can also support vector files. The other files here are more exotic and less useful for you in Affinity Photo. Just to point out, these two here, SVG and EPS, these are both vector files, so you can use them for vector graphics in Affinity Designer or in Adobe Illustrator. Okay, let's go back to JPEG, and this is the most used file format for exporting files. The first thing here that we have as a choice is size, and there are two things to look out for. If you want to use it on the internet, it's important that your file size is as small as possible and the resolution is how can I say, just big enough to fit the biggest size that you can view the picture on your page. If you use your picture on pages like Instagram or Facebook, stuff like that, or you're creating a YouTube cover, you can search for the ideal size and you should use that size. On the other hand, if you want to prepare your file for printing, it should be big enough or bigger, but it should never be too small because otherwise you will have a pixelated print. It will be really ugly to look at. So figure out what the right pixel resolution is. You can go on Google, type in print size calculator, and you will find free options to calculate the right resolution for your picture. Okay, below that we have the preset, which gives you some quick choices. I would only suggest to you to use best quality or high quality, never medium or low, because they give really bad qualities of your picture. Below that we have resampling and some choices where you might not know what they are at all. Resampling basically means that you have an algorithm that is recalculating your picture and deciding what parts to throw away and what parts to keep, so the picture looks as good as possible with the smallest possible file size. And this is what resampling does, and these are different algorithms to do that. The most used are the top three ones. The nearest neighbor is a very fast but not very good compression algorithm. What it does is it just looks at the pixel next to it and copies that value. So the results are not great, but it's very fast. So if time is of essence, then this could be a good choice. Bilinear is looking at all the surroundings pixels and taking their values and calculating the result from that. So this is looking a lot better. And then you have a bicubic, which is basically doing the same as bilinear. So it's looking at all the surrounding pixels and their values for the base of the calculation, but it's doing it with a more complex algorithm. So this will give a better looking picture. And if you have gradients in your picture, stuff like that, then this is a much better choice. And below that, we have some rather exotic algorithms. They are supposed to make the picture sharper. I haven't really seen any kind of differences. And you have this here separable and non-separable. The non-separable, I think the separable are supposed to be sharper than the non-separable. But yeah, I don't have much experience with those two, so rather use the upper three. Below that, you have quality, and I would suggest to never go below 80 on the quality, and this will give you the quality of the picture, or kind of an estimate of the quality of the picture. So the lower you go, the worse the quality of the picture is. Also, the file size is reduced, but it will be really ugly. And you can see down here, estimated file size, it says 71 kilobyte, really, really small. On the other hand, if you go up to 85, it has 423 kilobytes, which is still a lot smaller than the original file size, but it will have a good quality to look at. Okay, then we have area, and that is really interesting to use. As you can see here on the right, now I have two layers, one with the circle and the other one is the picture in the background. And when I go to export with this layer selected, I can select here. Whole document is, of course, everything I'm seeing in my picture, exported as a JPEG. But if I select selection with background, what will happen is that it will only export the ellipse layer, so only this here, but of course still in a rectangular shape as any export is, and you will still see the background here with this picture in it. If you say without the background, what will happen is that all the stuff you will see in these areas is removed, and instead it will be replaced with the standard background color. You can choose the standard background color at the start when you create your picture, or in document settings, or if you didn't select it, this will be white as a color. Under more, we have some more options. You should probably not touch them. There are just two things that are important to you here. So one is the ICC profile, that is the color profile. If you have a problem with how your pictures are looking online, there's probably a problem with the color profile. So you should go in here and change it to sRGB and this kind of code here. So sRGB is the right choice for your browser to make the pictures look good and look the same as on your screen. And the other thing that's interesting here down, it says embed metadata. And this is the EXIF data that your file has. So it includes the GPS data, where your picture was taken, the date, the time of day, the camera settings, stuff like that. If you want to have more privacy with your pictures, especially about the GPS data, unhook that so there is no more metadata in your picture and all this kind of information is removed. So this is all the different settings you have for JPEG. Now we will look at different results we have here. So this is the original file that I downloaded from the internet. Let's zoom in here. And you can see here, we do have a little bit of fragmentation in here, but basically it's a very nice compression for the file size that we have and for the resolution that the picture has. Up here, I exported different choices from what we have seen before. And here we have bilinear, and you can see, wow, is there a lot of fragmentation in here. Let's reduce this to 300, or let's keep it at 400. And go here to 400 too. You can see here, this is a lot cleaner. And here we have bilinear, and wow, a lot of fragmentation. And The thing to point out here is if I go to the normal view, you can see that you will probably not see any of this in the picture, but still it is important to know that there is a lot of fragmentation in here. And also here we have nearest neighbor, almost the same result. It's a little bit worse, but still a lot of fragmentation. Here is this more exotic algorithm that I have also shown you before, still has a lot of fragmentation in here. And by the way, this is the most surprising. This is bilinear with 100% quality, still a lot of fragmentation. So 100% quality, although the file size is really big, does not mean that this is lossless or uncompressed. It's still compressed, it's still resampled, and it doesn't look that good. But now comes the kicker. Here is the bicubic resampling with 85% quality, and this looks almost like the original picture. So this is really interesting. And here you can see especially how bicubic is good for gradients. You can see here the background, the color is fading from a darker kind of grayish violet to a lighter grayish violet. So in here we have very few fragmentations. So this is really nice for this kind of case. And the important thing here is you should experiment with the pictures if you do that, to see what of these choices of the algorithms works best for the picture, because this has to be decided picture by picture basically. But like I said, in most cases the picture still looks good whatever you're using, as long as you use a high quality for the compression, so never go under 80. By the way, here we have PNG, which also looks great. And also the thing here is with PNG, it does not have this quality slider, so it's always the same when you export PNG. The thing with PNG though is that the file size is considerably bigger, as you can see here. So if I export it right now, it's 2.5 megabytes. This is a lot too big for most websites. But for example, for video, for print or stuff like that, that's good. Or if you need transparency, then of course this is also the choice that you should take. But then you have these transparent areas and they don't use up any kind of pixels, so they will reduce the size too. So this is why this is a great choice for that. Okay, so another thing that I have prepared is this here, and that is called pixel art. And the reason for that is that each color is just used for 1 pixel. So compared to the bird, where you can see here that the colors are, how can I say, fading into the different boxes to make it look smoother, we don't have this here. So this is kind of a vintage or old way to create pictures. The important thing here is we can look at this again with our bilinear compression, and again you can see, wow, there is a lot of fragmentation in here. So this looks really ugly, and you can see if you create a picture with very few colors like pixel art, don't use this. You can go with GIF or CHIF, and you can see looks great, no fragmentation whatsoever. Or what's also interesting, PNG also worked really great. So that's a really good thing to know about these things where you have fewer colors, solid colors. PNG or CHIF is a better choice, or bicubic resampling could also be a great choice for that. Okay, so another thing to look at is if you have, there's a filter called the Nick collection. It's now owned by DOX. You can look it up online, and what they have is this. They have the Sharpener Pro for output sharpening and also for raw pre-sharpening. And I can really suggest using those. They give you different choices. Do you want to use it on a print? Do you want to use it on a screen, stuff like that? And this will give you a much better control over how sharp your picture looks when you want to put it on a website or stuff like that, or for the print it's a good choice to prepare your file for the print after you're done with the editing, of course. And there's another thing I want to say about editing and about exporting. When we go back in here to export JPEG and more, you will see here that it says pixel format, and you have the document format, and it says RGB 8-bit grayscale 8-bit CMYK 8-bit. And 8-bit, JPEG is always 8-bit, so that's important to know. And let's go back to the website here. What 8-bit means, the difference between 8-bit and 16-bit is that 8-bit offers 256 shades. Here it says levels, it's shades per color. And 16-bit offers 65,000, over 65,000 shades of color. So if you have a red, here you have 65,000 reds, and here you have 256 different kinds of shades of red. So that's important to know. And by the way, another thing you should know is that your screen does only have 8-bit, and your camera does not create 16-bit files. You can see down here we have some examples. You have the 5D, really great, very expensive camera. It has 16-bit. The reason for that is, and this is only if you photograph in RAW. If you photograph in JPEG, your pictures are always going to be 8-bit. So that's important to know. The reason why your software supports 16-bit images is so you can use your 14-bit RAW file and have a little bit headspace so you can work with colors. And this is important if you use, or there's a lot of gradients in the picture, if you use soft brushes, if you do digital painting, stuff like that, where you need a lot of shades so the colors blend beautifully into each other, and you can work with these color blends and different shades. Then 16-bit is really can have a big effect on working on the files, but you should remember that when you export a file, it's probably going back to 8-bit, or should go back to 8-bit, because the screen doesn't support it. A lot of printing machines don't support it, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to export it in 16-bit, unless you want to give the picture back in the pipeline where you need to work on it some more, or as import in another file that's also 16-bit. And by the way, another thing I want to point out, if you have the idea, oh, the guy in the shop said my screen has 24 bits, so it's a super duper screen, better than even the pro cameras. This is just marketing talk. It's an 8-bit screen. The way they come up with that is that they say your screen has 3 colors because it's RGB, and each of these colors has 8 bits, so it's 8 plus 8 plus 8. And there you have it, your 24-bit screen. But that is marketing bull, because that's like saying you have beer and you have 3 bottles of beer, and each of these bottles have 5% alcohol, so you suddenly have 15% alcohol. That's not how it works. It's an 8-bit screen. Okay. So that's important to know about exporting and working with the files. So when you edit the files, and if you edit, by the way, here's another list. I will link these in the video description. Where was the list? So here it says, if you have a slow computer, if you have a small hard drive, if you have a lot of pictures, if you output for the web, you have a high number of pictures, stuff like that, you can work with 8-bit, because it doesn't make sense to edit thousands of pictures in 16-bit. On the other hand, if you use the gradient tool and you use soft brushes and you have similar tonality and stuff like that, you can use 16-bit. If it's just a few pictures and you have a special kind of editing for your shooting, stuff like that, you can go into 16-bit, or you do digital painting, stuff like that, where one picture is really important. You take a lot of time and effort to work on this one picture, then 16-bit can be a good choice. Yeah, but like I said, when you export it, it's probably going back to 8-bit. Okay, so these were the different details to look at. Oh, by the way, no, we're not finished yet. Another popular format is PDF. And what I want to suggest to you, because there's a lot of different things here, and this is an intro, use the presets, because they are really, really good. I mainly use print or web, so stick to them. Print is perfect for printing and web is perfect for web files. You can see this is automatically reducing your files to 72 dpi, so it's fit for the screen. And printing is going with 300 dpi, so this is preparing your file for the printing. Really nice. I mean, there is the rare case where you have a really, really large print. So then you can go 72 dpi for the print. Reason for that is with a really large print, you stand a lot further away, so you don't need all these pixels. Doesn't make sense, and the printing company will not allow you to send them a file it's like 10 gigabytes in size because you want to have 300 dpi. Okay, so this is the main intro about exporting. If you have questions that I can answer in another video, in maybe a second part of this, please write them in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. And if you like my videos, I do 2 videos per week, so maybe subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much and bye.